Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Trinity and I are so excited to introduce one of our very first spotlight sessions in this series about dual credit in Kentucky. Today's session is going to feature an amazing partnership between Shelby County Public Schools and Jefferson Community and Technical College. Last year, when we revised our dual credit policy, we were thinking about how important it was for us to reconsider the role of dual credit in our state and think deeply about what new goals or priorities that we might have for this program. The policy states that Kentucky is working to provide all high school students with the opportunity to participate in dual credit and to build intentional outreach and support to expand access for populations of students who have historically participated in these programs at lower rates. So in short, what we wanted to do was make dual credit more available to students who had not traditionally taken advantage of dual credit in the state. So the policy also includes 6 strategies that we believe will help us get there. And today's session and our panelists are really going to zoom in on 2 of those strategies. The first one is to prioritize access among students with limited or no access to dual credit courses currently. And so we'll hear from them about how they are taking a look at students who don't quite make the cutoff for eligibility and how they're working with these students to help them reach that goal. The second strategy that we're going to talk about today is strengthening partnerships among high schools, post-secondary institutions, and employers in order to build and sustain effective policies and equitable practices. And I think what you're going to see today are some amazing policies and some amazing practices that these hardworking individuals have put into place to really benefit students, and especially those who don't currently have access to dual credit. So Shelby County Public Schools and Jefferson Community and Technical College are intentionally supporting these students and opening doors for students who have not been involved in dual credit in the past. And so today we're going to hear all about how they got started and what the secret sauce is for their success. So without further ado, I'm thrilled to welcome 3 Kentucky colleagues who are putting these ideas into practice in Shelby County Public Schools and JCTC. First, we have Michael Alcorn and Kayla Sweeney, who are representing JCTC. And then we also have Susie Burkhart, who is an employee of Shelby County Public Schools. And we're going to talk specifically about her work at Shelby County High School. So without further ado, I want to welcome them into the room. Welcome, Susie and Michael and Kayla. What I'd like to do is give you all a chance to just introduce yourselves and tell us just a little bit about your role. So Susie, I'm going to look at my screen and I see you first. So I'm going to start with you. If you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you do there at Shelby County.
Good morning. I am the College and Career Coordinator for our district, which serves in terms of dual credit 2 high schools, Shelby County High School and Martha Lane Collins. And actually our A2C work right now is going on in Martha Lane Collins. I think that it said on the prior slide it was Shelby County High, but is Martha Lane Collins High School. That is the A2C participant. I've been in this role this is my 6th year. I've been an administrator, instructional coach, teacher, but I'm really enjoying the work and helping students with post-secondary planning, access to dual credit, as well as facilitating all of our dual credit enrollment with Jefferson and our CTE dual credit.
All right, wonderful. Welcome, Susie. We're so glad you're here today. Michael, you're next on my screen, so we'll go ahead and let you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm the Director of Program Facilitation for Dual Credit with Jefferson. So I oversee pretty much all the dual credit as far as the policies. And then we have individuals that work at the extended campuses. So we have our Bullitt campus, our Shelby campus, our Carrollton campus, and then I'm actually at the Southwest campus. So I've been with the dual credit office for almost 7 years now. I was here at the inception of the A2C program. So in addition to overseeing dual credit, we also oversee the special programs like Bullitt Advanced Math and Science, or the A2C program, or Rotary Bridge for JCPS. So glad to be here.
All right, wonderful. Welcome, Michael. And Kayla.
Hi there, good morning. My name is Kayla Sweeney, and I am one of the academic program facilitators with JCTC. So I work under Mike, and I work primarily with the Accelerate to College program here, as well as the UPS School to Work program. So, and that part of that is doing observations in the schools, taking part in some of the PDs and some other things.
All right, welcome, Kayla.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to start our conversation today with a couple of questions for Michael. Since you've been with JCTC since the inception of A2C, I'd like for you to tell us just a little bit about the background of this program, how it got started, and what you had in mind in terms of what did you want to accomplish through it?
Yeah, I think the program really got the start based on what we were seeing as a need for equity of access. We had a host of students and that were under the benchmark, but were definitely of the caliber that they could complete. They could be successful in coursework if they were given the opportunity. But based on, policies and the way they were in place as far as assessment and placement goes, we had to follow those policies and make sure the students met the prerequisites. As for dual credit, we know that remedial education is not approved for dual credit. So we had some barriers that we had to overcome. So recognizing the need and then what the barriers were, we were able to get a grant from Chase. And that grant started the program and it funded it for 3 years, and we were able to get it up and running. And of course, I think we're in our 5th year now. So we've taken ownership of that. So we had the grant to help us, but the guiding force was really that equity of access, students that we knew could be successful based on the collaboration with the high schools. They still have this A2 of this person's in between this GPA range, but we know they would be successful given the resources.
Okay. I love when I can hear about a startup grant that gives you the opportunity to get a program going and then see it become successful. So talk a little bit more about the specifics of A2C. If you were hoping to help support students to become eligible, what kinds of things were you looking to do?
Well, the A2C program it's changed just a little bit over the years, not tremendously, but I'll tell you what the program is right now. We run from, so we have English and math. That's the only 2 classes we focus on.
Okay.
We do what would be the developmental English ENC 96 is our course. It's introduction to the writing. And then we do Math 61, which is the introduction to college algebra. It's not college algebra. So it leads into that. So we focus on English and math. The English is set up where ENC 96 replaces English 3. So they take that in their junior year, and it's a year-long course taught by high school faculty, supported by JCTC faculty. And then the math is taught in the senior year. In the fall, they do the Math 61. And then in spring, they would go on and do their credit-bearing math, either taught by the high school faculty if they're credentialed, or we provide the faculty and they teach it in an online format that's facilitated by that same high school teacher. Some of the things that are important in the program and the way it was developed is, for example, the math. They use McGraw-Hill ALEKS program for their remedial math, and then they use the McGraw-Hill ALEKS program for their math, whether it's the liberal arts or college algebra. So it's a seamless transition into that math course. It keeps that going for the learner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, I love your focus on equity of access and opening up these doors for students. I'm curious about English and math. Why did you decide to focus on those 2 courses?
We just looked at the research that's been done over the years, and it's pretty widely publicized out there that those are the 2 gateway courses. If students are not successful, and for example, it was changed years ago that you can only do 1 remedial course before you can do your credit-bearing course. And that's because they found out that students that weren't successful in those 2 courses, or if they had to take a ton of remedial just to get to the credit bearing, oftentimes they would never get there. And if they don't get those two completed within their first year, they typically won't go on or won't come back. So we felt like those were the two most important. And also, if you can do English, so for example, if they complete the ENC 96 in their junior year and complete the English, that potentially opens it up for some other courses. The program is designed to go straight into English 101, but that's not to say they couldn't, springboard from there and take a biology 112, intro to biology.
Okay, so the program opens up more doors for them long term.
Absolutely.
Once they've gone through. All right.
Typically what we see is ENC 96 in their junior year for the English, and then it opens up English 101 in the fall of their senior year, and then spring of their senior year, that opens up, even though they still might not have that benchmark GPA, and that's the primary assessment, they can still take courses. Now they've got a proven college GPA.
Okay, I understand. One more question for you, Michael, and then we're going to shift and talk to Kayla and Susie a little bit. But it seems like you would need a lot of resources. It seems like this would be expensive and it would take a lot of teachers. So can you tell us a little bit about how you've worked through those barriers? Like, how has this become affordable for students or for districts? And then how do you find enough people to do what you're doing?
In the beginning, when we used the Chase grant, we did outfit the schools with textbooks we used Little Seagull for the English. We had some math stuff we put in place for the math instructors. So there was some initial startup costs that we were able to use the Chase grant for. But everything now, obviously, as we've transitioned into us taking that program over, it is a partnership. So, and I'll use the professional development, for example. So our faculty that host the professional development get paid a stipend to do that. I don't know for sure about Shelby County, so I don't want to put them on, but we also do this same program with Carrollton, our Carroll County partners at South Oldham. We do the same program with many of our JCPS, Jefferson County Public Schools partners. And they get a stipend for attending that training as well. So they can either get a stipend or they can get credit for professional development through JCPS. So it is a true partnership when we share some of that cost. Now, the college does agree to waive the cost of the tuition for that remedial class. Then the students are expected to either pay or use their scholarship, their KIA scholarship, for the credit-bearing course. And then if there's a cost for digital content, that's borne by the student or the school, depending on how that's set up. So you're talking about a shared cost between the college, between the secondary partner, and the student has a little skin in the game if it's a textbook or digital content. So it is shared by all. There is a strong commitment by our president, Dr. Ty Handy, that that he feels like this is such a great program as well. He's willing to put those resources into it. Our faculty have been excited from day one. Kayla's going to share some stuff that they do with the professional development and how they support these high school faculty. And when you've got people like Susie Burkhardt at the high schools that understand the value of this program, that can promote it in the high school, that's how you get people on your side and on your team.
Okay, amazing, Michael. Can you also just give us a little bit of information about how widespread is this program? How many students are benefiting?
Yeah, typically we run about 700 students total between the math and English. We've got about 17 schools on board that are doing it, and we always are prepared to add more schools. And a lot of that's done by word of mouth. They hear it, and we've got programs at Ballard. We've got programs at Wagner and Iroquois and Seneca, and it's a shared program. Again, some of them have their own teachers that are credentialed to teach the credit bearing course. Some of them we combine. Let's say you've got 4 schools that don't have a math teacher. We'll create an online section and put all 4 of those schools in the same online section. So it is a good continuing, but Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty big program. It's continued to grow, and we hope that in the future it'll continue to grow and expand into more counties. Again, we've got Jefferson, Bullitt, and Carroll, or Jefferson, Shelby, and Carrollton. Now we definitely need some folks. If you're out there from Bullitt County, reach out to us.
There you go. It sounds like you have a lot of people who just said, we're going to make this work. We're going to do this, and then just rolled up their sleeves. All right,
Well,
Kayla,
I think even now, as we come out of COVID, and I think everybody knows the rebound from COVID has been there. And when you look at our primary assessment and placement policy as GPA, a lot of GPAs were hurt during the COVID years.
Mhm.
So we know some students that may not have that 3.0 benchmark GPA, they may have a 2.8 or a 2.7, but they're perfectly capable of doing English 101 if we can get them there. And this is a method to get them there. So it's all part of that COVID recovery too at this point.
Yeah, love it. Love it. All right. Thank you, Michael. I want to ask Kayla now just a little bit about your role. I know that the partnership also includes a lot of support for the teachers and the people involved in terms of professional learning and just ongoing support. So Kayla, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Absolutely. So my role entails a few different things. Part of it is just the logistical side of working with Mike and the others in our office to get students enrolled, working with the counselors such as Susie to do that. They are a huge part of what makes A2C work. The other part of that, and probably one of the primary parts of my role, is doing observations with teachers. These observations are not for the purpose of saying like gotcha or something like that, but for the purpose of providing support for our teachers, seeing what they need help with, making sure that our students can log into Alex or into Blackboard, things like that. And so I perform those throughout the course of both semesters. So in the fall, when we have MAT 61, all of the math teachers will be observed, and then English, because it runs year long, that can vary. The other side of that is with the JCTC faculty, we do PDs about once a month while these courses are running. And our JCTC faculty do so much to collaborate with and support the teachers who are a part of this program. I'm looking at a PD document right now, and there's no way I can share this, is there, Susie? Oh, Susie, I'm so sorry. Robin.
If you send it to Trinity, she could probably share it.
Okay, so later down the road, but
yeah, later on. Yeah.
This document entails, if we look at the schedule, they're working through units, they're having roundtable discussions, they're problem solving. And so, teachers love to collaborate. And so this is really a monthly way for them to do that. And if it's their first time teaching an A2C course, to get the support they need, both from the JCTC faculty as well as other teachers who have been in the program. Thank you.
Yeah, that's really amazing, Kayla, the kind of support and ongoing support that you're able to provide. I know that there's been a lot of conversation across the state about, consistent rigor in coursework, and also, just teaching online and making sure that that's a good experience for students, and interactive, and that it can really change the way the students experience turns out depending on the teacher who's in the classroom. We all know that, but it's encouraging to hear that you all do so much to support the teachers who are in these roles. All right. Thank you, Caitlin. Now, Susie, I'm going to turn my attention to you and have you tell a little bit about how you've been able to operationalize A2C in Shelby County. So just kind of give us an introduction in that regard. Like, how did you get started, and why is Shelby County so invested?
Sure. So we have a pretty robust gen ed and CTE, but our focus like today is more gen ed dual credit. We have a very robust gen ed dual credit program, have some really good class change, have some really good processes and procedures for that, which I kind of oversee for our district for both of our high schools. And so really the onset was when Jefferson started the program. It was kind of brought to light, and we realized, there were kids at both of our high schools that were intending to go to college after high school. They, in their own mind, were not sure that they were going to be successful with that. A lot of first gen students who, again, had not been in dual credit prior, maybe didn't meet the benchmarks or the GPA requirement for dual credit during high school. And so we felt like this was a great scaffold for them, and that, such a great teaching term that we know scaffolding is successful for students. And so it involved our staff providing that scaffold, which we love that, because then we could stay, in the DPLC process, where they're sharing data with their colleagues. It provided another option for our students before they dove right into a more independent dual credit experience. So the support that Kayla and Mike spoke of was really one of the components that made us feel like this was going to be a super big benefit for our students. The other piece that really drove us was that we knew some of our students were going to college and maybe hadn't met their ACT benchmark to go into that 100 level math and English course. And as Mike alluded to earlier, we know the research about the success of those students completing their degree. If they get logged down, or bogged down with those remedial courses when they get to college, they don't have as much success. And so this program lets them do those 0 level courses, is how we refer to those here in Shelby County, to accomplish those during high school and then roll into credit-bearing courses. So again, it's very much more scaffolded. I will say one thing, and I realize at the college, it is considered a remedial course. We've learned kind of through our parents and our student response, we do not use the remediation language with our A2C courses. So actually our A2C English in Infinite Campus, and the way that we promote that is honors. It's A2C Honors English 3. So it is on par with our honors courses. And then our A2C math is just A2C senior math, because it's only for seniors. There was some word that got out. And of course, at college, those are remedial courses, right? So that makes sense that college would call them remedial. But our students see remedial as like, I'm really far off the mark. I'm not successful in high school if I'm remediating. So we've changed our language with that to encourage our students that this is sort of a bridge program for them toward college courses. But really increasing access for students, increasing confidence of students to kind of jump into that college coursework before they graduate with support first. And then also decreasing the remediation need when they get to college. That's a really big one for me, because I know the data behind that. And I know if we can get those kids that are right there during high school and prevent them having to take remedial courses, it's just going to help them to get off on the right foot when they arrive to their 2-year or 4-year after high school.
Yeah, I love that approach, Susie, of encouraging students and making them feel like, okay, this is a step towards something amazing that I'm,
Yes.
I'm trying to qualify for. So I like that approach. So can you tell us a little bit about the students who have been through A2C? What do you know about them?
Sure.
How are they doing in their preparatory courses, and then in their actual credit-bearing dual credit? What do we know?
Sure. I would love to talk about the English first. The English, again, as Mike said, is a year-long course their junior year. So those students last year who were in our A2C English class we're enrolled in Fall English 101. So I already have their grades from English 101 and everything. So I'll share those with you guys.
Okay.
So of the students that were in that class, 25% got an A in English 101. 33% of those students received a B, and then 20% received a C. We did have 4 students in our A2C English junior year who did not enroll in English 101. But in that course, it wasn't because they didn't pass the A2C. It was because there were so many things their senior year, like work-based learning. They were at our area technology center. It was probably a scheduling thing when I went back and looked at those 4 students. Those 4 students had 2 A's and 2 B's in the A2C class, but they chose not to do English 101 right away. Some of them may be in it this semester. I didn't check the spring semester. 78% of our A2C roll-up students in English 101 received credit-bearing 101 coursework versus our total of 83%. If I looked at all of our 100 students that take 101, 83% of them received that credit bearing grade, where 78%. So, and 54% of our A2C English students last year were minority, compared to 38% of our overall dual credit population is minority, which so it was a higher number. And so it really reached our access piece and opportunity piece for some of our minority students. I didn't do a FRAM analysis, but I would say just qualitatively, it was high free and reduced lunch students. And our district does support our free and reduced lunch students. We do cover their books and their tuition if they are out of scholarships from KIA, and we also do 4 additional scholarships from our board for dual credit. So our students have 8, and then our free and reduced lunch students also have books covered by our district. So that is another access point. The A2C math was good, but we had about 53% of those students get the credit bearing that second semester versus 74%. So it was a little bit lower. And we were really commiserate with our minority enrollment with our math. So we had about 35% minority in that class, and our enrollment for dual credit is 38%. The math class is a little bit different in that it is senior year. And so just for those districts watching, one of our stress points for that math class is that we all know that our seniors have to have a senior math to graduate. So I hope this isn't too complicated, but that first, the A2C math semester is a 0.5 because it is a high school level course, or it's a 0 level course. So they only get a half a credit in that A2C math. So they have to finish that. They get 1 credit for the math 150. So they get 1.5 credits if they finish the whole thing. But if they decide or don't get a C or higher in the A2C prep, they can't roll into the credit bearing class. Or if they decide they don't want to do that, we try to counsel them there if they're capable to do it, because that's the whole intent of the A2C class. But we have had a couple situations where kids maybe haven't performed well in that A2C math fall term, and we've had to find another half credit for them to reach that 1.0 for graduation. So I know all of our counselors who are watching at the high schools totally understand what I'm saying. That is a little bit of a stress point because we do want to make sure that all of our students, I mean, high school graduation is the #1 game. And then making sure they get some college credit while they're in high school is kind of that subsidiary goal. But our English is not that stressed because we've got that year-long prep, and then they have 1 semester, and we always enroll them in that English 101 in the fall in case there's any kind of trip up or anything that we need to support that student. We have a whole nother semester to support them with a credit to graduate.
All right. Susie, I was going to ask you about what had been hard and what had been easy about this process, but I think the scheduling and figuring out all of the course codes and how everything applies for high school and for the post-secondary is tough to navigate. All right, we're getting short on time, but I did want to give all of you all an opportunity for two last things, and we'll just kind of go around and around the table again and talk about these 2 things. But one is how are we making sure that students and their families know about this opportunity? So much of our stakeholder feedback tells us that students and families say, well, I didn't know that I could even do this. Or for students who think they don't qualify for this, and then they find out they do. What do you do in order to make sure that the students you're trying to reach actually hear about it? And then the last thing is just final words. I'd like to hear you talk a little bit about maybe some of the rewards, some of the like heart pieces for you in this work. So each one of you, I'll give you an opportunity for a final word. So let's talk a little bit about communication and then your final words.
I guess because I do the families, I'll talk briefly as I can about that. Okay. So for our A2C, because that's going to be our rising juniors, so we're scheduling sophomores for that now, and they're pretty young. And so a lot of the families don't know about that opportunity, what it is. We've had miscommunication about that it's a remedial course, and that alarms people. So we've learned on that. But what I do for that course is work tightly with our counselors. I'm not a guidance counselor. I'm a college and career coordinator. So I work very closely with our guidance counselors, and we look at the students one by one on that rising sophomore class in terms of what would be the best English setting. And so we actually meet with the students one-on-one and talk to them about them. We give them this awesome pamphlet that Jefferson provided to take home to their parents. And then we have a follow-up meeting with them. We also involve the parents, you know, in those conversations as needed. So we'll tell the parents, we're happy to put you on the call when we're meeting with your student, those kinds of things. And then in terms of general ed dual credit, so when kids do become eligible to take dual credit, the senior year, when we go to the 3.0 GPA, I send out a letter to the home of every student who qualifies to say, did you know? Because I have had students say, oh, I don't think that's for me. And I mean, my heart just stops because that is just, oh, that gets to me. That gets me hard. So I want to make sure if they're closing the door on that opportunity and that's a choice, you know, I feel better if they know about the choice. If they're closing that door because they don't know about it. So we do a lot of one-on-one with the A2C opportunities. We meet with the students and say, you're eligible for this. This is why we think you would be really great in it. This is the support that's going to be there. We're excited about it for you. What do you think?
Awesome. Thanks, Susie. Okay, and then Susie, I'll go ahead and let you say your final word if there's anything you want to leave us with.
Yeah, so I'll kind of jump off something Mike said earlier that and just put it to kind of context with a student. So I had a student, she is Hispanic female student, very good student, but had some struggles during COVID being at home. Her ACT scores were just hovering right at college benchmark. And so she did our math A2C class last year and took the English 101, got an A in it this fall. She has since enrolled in additional dual credit classes and just the relationship that I've developed with her and helping her plan for her post-secondary. And, you know, I mean, she's set to go to a four-year university now. She's got some scholarships and her just whole demeanor about herself. And I really think it started with that A2C experience of someone saying like, hey, I think you're ready for some early college during high school and let's start this year, and then kind of paint that picture for senior year because I knew she was going to be such a success, and paint that picture of, okay, not only can you take English 101, but she took Psych 110. I think she did a humanities credit. So she's going to roll into college with, you know, quite a few credit hours, which has changed her just perception of herself. She's first gen minority student. And I think it's just been really powerful. So I would love to close with her story because it's one that, you know, there's several students in that class, but she in particular then made a connection with me as coordinator. And so just has reached out for me on questions about college and, you know, just the relationship that we made earlier through the A2C pathway has been great.
Yeah. Wow. That makes my teacher heart really happy when I hear you say that, Susie. All right. Michael, we'll go to you now. Anything you want to say about communication and then your final words?
Yeah, I think on the communication, we rely heavily on our secondary partners to communicate it throughout their school systems of what's available. Also, counselor to counselor, when they have meetings, you know, that they can talk to these other schools that don't have this program and talk, you know, about what the program is and at least get that started. We do provide printed material. We've also got a spot on our webpage that covers the A2C program, so people can go on there and read it as well. The one thing I will say about the program is that because it's a unique program in itself, we have a lot of flexibility within the program. So not only can we meet the needs of those students that maybe don't meet benchmark, but we also work very closely with counselors and our secondary partners for students that maybe they do meet the benchmark. We had a lot of students that the counselors will tell us this student has a 3.2 GPA, but I can tell you they will not be successful in math straight out into college. So we have some flexibility to work with those students on a recommendation basis so that we can help them. The other thing is the way the program is designed, we really want students to have that continuity of learning so they don't have that drop off at all. So if they can go from A to C English to credit bearing English or A to C math to credit bearing math, that's great. But for those students that didn't, for scheduling purposes or whatever, the fact that they completed it with a C or higher, if they come to Jefferson, they can jump right into that credit bearing course with us. So it was still valid to take the course. It still got them where they needed to be. so that they can still jump right into that credit bearing course. So the flexibility of the program is great.
Yeah, yeah, just so many ways for it to support students wherever they are. And you said, oh, we have some print materials, but I've heard Susie bragging about your print materials, so don't make light of that. I'm sure that was very helpful to the districts that you all work with. All right, Kayla, last words from you.
Yes, ma'am. When you asked that, I immediately thought of the observations because I go in at the beginning of the semester in some of those classes as well, just to help students apply to JCTC and get in the system and do their enrollment agreement. And then I come back for an observation to some of those same classes. And I was just thinking about the difference in the students from the beginning of the semester to whatever point I do the observation. And there have been several classes lately in particular where I walk in and I think this is structured like a college class, and these students are interacting with one another and the teacher like it's a college class. And that's been really encouraging for me to see. And it gives me a lot of pride in the teachers that are a part of our program, but also those students, and knowing that they are building a lot of confidence to move forward into college classes. So
yeah, Kayla, we hear so much about just students feeling worthy and like, okay, I can do this, that it's kind of a mind shift for them sometimes. And I like hearing you talk about that sort of affective side of things too, as well as just like what are the nuts and bolts of the partnership. Well, we are more than out of time. I'm going to turn things over to Trinity now. I really appreciate your all's participation in the panel today. So much amazing information, and just love to hear about these partnerships that are building and how we're better together. I mean, it just is true that no one entity could pull this off on their own. So thank you all so much for being here today and for sharing. And for sharing your resources. Kayla, if you'll send us that PD schedule that you have, I'm sure that people would love to see this. All right, Trinity, I'm going to turn things over to you now for a data moment.
Thanks, Robin. All righty. So we have been talking about this idea of equity and removing barriers for students and gaining access to college courses. And our community college system is a great way to partner and increase options for these equitable practices. The Community College Research Center at Teachers College at Columbia University published a report entitled Rethinking Dual Enrollment as an Equitable On-Ramp to Career Path College Degree Programs After High School. And as a part of this October 2023 report, they stated that 70% of dual credit courses are in partnership with these community colleges, and community colleges are reporting a 16% growth in dual credit enrollment. And this has increased markedly every year in most states, and dual credit now accounts for nearly 1 in 5 community college students. So I think with the A2C program, we are seeing that as well. A great partnership there between JCTC and the Shelby County schools. And thinking about this community college system and how it positively impacts our students, also, according to KY Stats, students who start and earn associate's degrees have a very high likelihood of earning bachelor's degrees. And of the students who earned their associate's degrees in 2016, 63% of these students went on to earn bachelor's degrees, and 2% went on to earn master's degrees within 3 years of earned associate's degrees. And at 6 years post-associate's degrees, that increased to 77% of those students had earned bachelor's degrees. So we're on to a good thing here. Additionally, as we look at research from CPE, you can see that students who are dual credit participants are more likely to persist in a second year of college. This is irrespective of where they're starting their college education, but programs like A2C give students who might not feel like college students, just like Susie said, that confidence to attend college and give them a boost to earn their degree. In CPE's 2023 progress report, you can see that there's an upward trend of students who are completing their 2-year degrees and transferring to 4-year institutions for completion of those bachelor's degrees. CPE's goal this year is that 65% of the students that earn their 2-year associate's degree at a KCTCS institution do just that, transition to a 4-year program to earn their bachelor's degree. Earning dual credits during a student's high school career helps to move that needle forward, and it continues to help us make progress. Additionally, you can see that underrepresented minorities in their enrollment and attainment of college degrees and credentials are on the rise. This data shows an increase from 2016 to 2022. I would hypothesize that some of the success is with this population of students has to do with barriers being reduced with dual credit programming that has become available to them, and the hard work that each of you do every day to make sure that this college-going landscape is more equitable through these programs. And the National Alliance of Concurrent Enrollment Partnerships agrees that dual credit is that powerful equity lever for this population of students. As I wrap up today, I want to return to the research that I started with from the Community College Research Center at Teachers College. Using a model they created calling DEEP, which highlights starting to understand the college-going process as early as middle school, this is helping to lead to better post-secondary outcomes for our students. These programs include partnerships like the A2C program that we've heard about today. So as I leave you, I want you to think about what kinds of partnerships you might start or to continue to grow within your current setting, and making sure that we continue with this equitable access for college education and dual credit for our students. And as always, as we finish up here, please continue to follow us on social media and all other communication outlets. Our information is there on the screen, but if you always need it, you can always contact Robin or I. And April is another highlight success moment. We are going to be spotlighting the Beechwood Edge program on April the 9th at 10 a.m., just like we do each and every webinar. So we hope that you can join us and hear more about their program and what they're doing with partnerships. As always, thank you for joining us. Please visit our Early Post-Secondary Opportunities Toolkit. There's a lot of information on there that might help you in your scheduling, like Susie is doing right now at her high school, and within your programming. So please continue to check out our Early Post-Secondary Opportunities Toolkit. And we hope that you come back and see us in April and enjoy the spring-like conditions that are upon us today. Have a great day and see you next time.